So Pirate Software, or Jason Thor Hall, is probably someone that needs no introduction whatsoever, but with my usual shtick I'm going to assume you're fresh out of spawn and hold relatively low intelligence stats. I probably don't need to assume the latter part, but Pirate Software is someone that seemingly appeared out of nowhere around 2022, where for some reason YouTube Shorts were serving up his content like it was the only thing on the dollar menu, and basically brute forcing people's shorts with his content. And around that time, I wasn't very angry about it. Thor's short form content was clips from his Twitch streams and was an amalgamation of cybersecurity, general tech information, random facts, and his experience with being a game developer and constantly trying to encourage his viewers to pick up and start making their own games. Even if they didn't have all the knowledge, starting was the most important thing he emphasized.
But the first thing is, what skills do you need? None. You don't need to know anything. You could be bad at everything and it's totally fine. So let's go into a few of these.
Although in most of said content he would look for any reason to bring up MS Paint, and I'm pretty sure 90% of his content involves it, and I'm almost certain he would use it in any context imaginable off stream, but I liked Pirate Software's content. It was generally interesting. You could actually learn a lot of things mostly from his short videos. Probably the most useful thing I learned was some hotkeys, like if you want to be flashbanged with PTSD for anyone that has ever worked an office job or attended any online interview, just simply press Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Windows-T and you'll probably experience your dopamine levels slowly dissipate. But that was how Pirate Software entered my radar, and it's a common experience of many, probably because once again this content was forced down many's throats for some unknown reason. But either from his tone of voice, the way he spoke, or maybe from the things he spoke about, a lot of people liked both him and his content quite a lot, and he gained quite a large audience in such a short time because of it. However, from this year alone and through multiple events, it seems as if the positive acclamations for Pirate Software have somewhat ceased and been replaced with the complete opposite, which is people expressing how much they detest this creator, from their content to opinion to just the way they conduct themselves. And all around, people are very skeptical of him now. You even have people like Billy Mitchell commenting on this, the guy from Regular Show, and he recently beat Carl Jobs in court or something. You also have the creator of Minecraft commenting on this, Notch. And weirdly enough, you have people praising him for the negative effect he had on a specific movement, because ultimately it pushed said movement into the limelight, allowing it to be more well known and moved forward. But Pirate right now is the fleshlight of hate for the internet, so to speak, with titles such as Nepo Baby, Industry Plant, Faking His Voice, Narcissist, Manipulator, Fraud, and unfortunately some labelling him the latest addition to the lolcows of the internet, on top of a lot of supporters no longer watching his content. And in my opinion, some of those titles and reactions are not completely unfounded. But it is something I wanted to talk about today, partially due to watching his content in the past, and watching this whole situation unravel, with the concerning fact most of this hate started from a game that most players still roam the servers of, probably around this time qualify for a senior discount of some sort, which is World of Warcraft. And a lot of these controversies could have easily been parried by either taking responsibility for your own actions, or simply admitting when you are wrong. But first, who is Pirate Software?
Hi there, would you like to sign my petition?
Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively people not to.
Pirate Software was born on July 17th, 1987, making him currently in his late 30s. His father, Jory Hall, is a legend in gaming who worked for 23 years at Blizzard, even before it went by the name Blizzard, and was just 10 dudes in an office. And throughout his years at Blizzard, he mainly worked in the field of 3D creation, cinematics, and video production, and at the height of his career in Blizzard was a senior project manager. But he's more well known for helping with the South Park episode Make Love Not Warcraft, airing when most of you were a waste of space in your father's testicles, and he was in fact the inspiration for the main antagonist of the episode, which was essentially Asmongold if his diet of cockroaches and $2 steaks slowed down his metabolism. He's also immortalized in StarCraft as a structure is named after him, called the Jory's Bar, but of course none of you would know that, because who the f*** would want to touch StarCraft in the modern day and age? You will get finger by the least sweatiest players who treat their keyboard like they're constantly in a Resident Evil QuickTime event. but Thor's dad was very influential at Blizzard, to the point where he was able to get Pyro a job there as a QA tester in 2004, at around the age of 17. The job of a QA tester is to find bugs or glitches with a product. Like in the game development area, it usually involves running into a wall 1,000 times to see if you can phase through it or break the game. It's a very tedious job and probably requires a Prozac prescription just to be good at it. But this is the only role Pirate Software admits he got down to nepotism.
My first job I got through nepotism, 100%. My dad worked at Blizzard for 23 years. He worked at Blizzard for 23 years, so I got a job there in 2004.
However, the title of Nepo Baby would be used against him in recent months regarding his later roles at Blizzard. But in this time frame, Thor would actually leave that role because in his own words, he was quite shit at it.
I was shit at this, and I realized I was shit. So for the next 5 years, I left Blizzard. I did not reapply, and I went and worked on my own. I did freelance.
Upon leaving that role, he started playing Second Life, which is basically the prehistoric version of VRChat, and yes, includes all the common problems found in VRChat.
Complicated.
Right, but I caught you with your red rocket out.
Now, his past on Second Life is a topic of contention, as he was previously known under the name Maldavius Figtree.
So I actually weren't into Second Life, which is a 3D Worlds game, if you've never played it before. They have a language in it called Linden Scripting Language.
And was said to be making $10,000 a month from an in-game business, creating avatars within Second Life, a majority being fairy avatars. He also had his own persona at the time, which was like a ferret or something.
Maldavius Figtree. This is the character that everyone's talking about. You'll actually see this posted all over the internet with people trying to use it as some kind of a gotcha against me. We were one of like the top 3 avatar creators at the time. The two of us made about $5,000 to $10,000 US every month doing this. They did all the models and I did all the programming in LSL. This is part of me being a freelancer back in the day before my career really took off.
But there were a number of things levied against Pirate Software from his past on Second Life that have seemingly been dragged up in recent months. Like with his online business revolving around Second Life, he allegedly fired one of his employees because they were lazy and earning too much money, and after removing them continued to sell their avatars, along with the allegation that Thor had weird interactions with this person at the time when they were 16 and met up in real life at one point. But Thor and Wingless Emoto, the supposed victim, have made statements saying they are both still friends, and the majority of things said is misinformation. There is no bad blood between them, no misconduct or weird activities, along with the clarification they were not selling NSFW avatars, and this person that is supposedly their victim regularly comes out to Thor's defense.
Meme face on Twitter. They were 17 and I was 19 when all of this went down, and no, we never did anything sexual together. We made avatars in Second Life and our work was really popular. We had a falling out over pay splits and Wingless open sourced our work. Wingless wanted 80-20. Our agreement was 50-50. When I said no, Wingless took all of our stuff, sent it out to the entire world with full permissions. They never got fired, they quit on their own and did this on the way out. That's it. This is 20-year-old drama. Maybe I made up 4 to 5 years later. We've been best friends ever since. You can actually reach out to them to confirm any of this. We've been talking about them coming on.
But once again, with some of the recent events surrounding Thor, these allegations are constantly being brought up and perpetuated, some labeling it as completely true. Along with the allegations, he takes down any videos that talk about his past. But many of these videos are taken down due to violations of terms and policies, so you can't really prove it was him. But if this video gets taken down, it would be pretty funny. But from what he says about this time in his life, he talks about learning a lot from this game, like scripting from creating his own games within it, and things like texturing from the avatars he created.
And I made games in there. I learned how to do 3D modeling, I learned how to do texture work, I learned how to do scripting, I learned how to, engage with people that were playing my games. I learned how to do network model stuff. I learned how to do server-related stuff. I did this for 5 whole years.
But after 5 years and hopefully paying taxes on the $10K a month he was earning, he returned to Blizzard in 2009 as a QA analyst, and he worked there till 2016, working in a number of roles, like in the cybersecurity related fields and some areas involving the games of Blizzard itself.
Then I came back to Blizzard in 2009, and I applied. Not having his help in any way, I got the job. Nobody knew that he was my dad until 2013, when I was leaving QA and joining Battle.net as the lead of application security. And they found out then, which was quite funny. So, like, I didn't want the nepotism boost. It made me feel very bad. It made me feel really, really gross even at that young age.
All of which he will not let you forget about. He mentions it a lot. Is his #1 NPC dialogue greeting.
I was watching a video that was critiquing you for mentioning you work at Blizzard so much. I literally never talk about it. So I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. I understand how rough the working conditions were at Blizzard. So when I worked at Blizzard, I had to do a social engineering task. When I first started at Blizzard, do you want to know why we had 2 years of overtime in StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty?
And people have been throwing around the accusation that he got his job he speaks about quite frequently due to nepotism once again, which he refutes and says he got on his own merit. But some question how he would have got that job if his experience before that was an internship and 5 years of independent study listed on his LinkedIn, but there was quite a gap in his employment, no further qualifications listed, and no other work experience. Some say it would have been difficult to get that job with the qualifications and job experience listed, but not impossible. But to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he hasn't listed all his credentials and education on his LinkedIn, and that's assuming he didn't use his LinkedIn like an actual social media page, like some psychopaths out there who use it like Facebook or Instagram, and probably intimately finger their prostate to the notification of people viewing their LinkedIn profile. But anyway, Thor maybe showed them some experience from when he was independently learning alongside his Second Life job, and hopefully in said portfolio he wasn't lying about the avatars being safe for work, and he wasn't showing them a folder of Second Life meat curtains, but nobody knows for certain if he actually got this job due to nepotism once again. But Thor went from multiple roles whilst at Blizzard, as said going from a QA tester for platform services to more in-depth cybersecurity roles like senior red team specialist, which in cybersecurity there's things like blue teams and red teams and even purple teams, all for the purpose of finding potential security risks or vulnerabilities, and with a blue team actively defending against an attack. There's a bit of temporary cybersecurity knowledge for that 4GB RAM stick in your head, but once again, a lot of the experiences that Thor advertises in his short-form content, a lot of people due to recent events are very skeptical of these things he's advertised, like saying he has 20 years of game development experience, and saying he has worked on some of the games at Blizzard.
I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. I worked on everything from World of Warcraft Vanilla all the way to Overwatch. I didn't work on Burning Crusade, that was the only thing I didn't work on.
When none of this is actually described in his credentials, let alone not a role listed to correspond to this, except for testing or from QA. But no actual game developer role is listed from his time at Blizzard, and some people have even gone so far as to question his way of coding if he was a game developer for this long, which caused its own kerfuffle, and something we'll be talking about later. Additionally, people question his cybersecurity knowledge and experience, as one of the primary accolades under his name was he is a hackerman from his experience at Blizzard, having the job of hacking into power plants, which he can't go too much into because he's under an NDA.
An actual hacker. Like,
Yes.
not like I'm a hacker type. No, you're an actual
Not a script
hacker.
kiddie.
You've won.
Like an actual hacker.
Yeah,
My last job was hacking power plants for the federal government. I
Yeah.
worked for the United States Department of Energy.
And from a lot of the stories he speaks about on his streams. He also supports these skills by talking about his DEF CON badges, which you get by being the first to complete the DEF CON puzzles at the very well-known cybersecurity and IT event.
There.
So DEF CON 24, I had just won DEF CON 23, so I was on my team at the time, which was Council of Nine, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be the social engineer this year. I don't want to like crack crypto the whole time because I was the big cannon at the back just solving puzzles, right?
But Thor completed these in teams, not just by himself. And by his own mouth, supposedly they even used his team's solution for one of the years at DEF CON on one of my favourite shows, Mr. Robot.
She's trolling me.
But Thor actually doesn't really like Mr. Robot because of this, because they used a part of the cipher excluding the Game Master's credit tag, and because the plain text version of the cipher is the person's phone number, who apparently received a lot of calls due to it appearing on the show.
But I don't like Mr. Robot. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't like Mr. Robot. I don't like Mr. Robot because they took some information that they should not have taken from a write-up that I did on some puzzles that I solved at DEF CON, and then they put them into an episode of the show. And the only source for that knowledge was my write-up. Don't do that. You're bad, Mr. Robot. You'll always be bad. Always. Yeah. Do you want to know what the solution for that was? Do you want to know what one of the solutions for that was? It was the Puzzle Master's personal cell phone number, to which he got thousands of calls.
But the problem with this is a lot of teams published their solutions that year, not just their team, and they didn't even win that year, and the cipher and puzzle for that year is still available online, meaning their phone number is still there. It's not like they dragged this up from the depths of the internet. Thor linked the solution to the problem under the Mr. Robot tweet, which advertises the guy's phone number, which is counterproductive for one of the reasons he hated it, and the guy that made it and whose phone number was used didn't mind they used it and even later became a part of the Mr. Robot team. But Pirate made 2 shorts condemning the show, but when called out for this, he supposedly banned one of the people commenting and hasn't responded to the criticism regarding it. This is a common trend for Thor, which is partially the reason why some people dislike him. He doesn't react to the criticism of his own actions very well, and his usual response is to double or even triple down, and usually not accept responsibility, and quite often chooses to die on that hill. All of which you will see more of later, but a lot of people, especially due to recent events, are skeptical of his past in general. But moving on, in 2016 he left his job at Blizzard, and whilst working for other companies started making his own games, which was when he started going under the name Pirate Software, which is also the name of his game development company. He made a game called Champions of Breakfast and started a Kickstarter for a game called Heartbound, which was fully fulfilled in less than a few days and was greenlit on Steam at number 1. There's even a clip of him in 2017 speaking about the game, and yeah, his voice sounds very different.
And the other one is Heartbound, which is a more story-driven RPG. And we've been working on that for about 6 months. We put it up on Steam Greenlight. It got rank 1, so it was massive success. And then we put it up on Kickstarter, and it got funded in 24 hours, and then ended up with 400% funding. So people really, really like the game.
Heartbound is a game a lot like Undertale, and Thor admits the reason it got so popular was down to Jacksepticeye recording a video showing the game. Thor initially started streaming on YouTube to show the progress of making this game, as sort of proof to the people that funded the game that he wasn't just going to run away with their money.
For me, making a channel actually came out of us building a game studio. So my idea was I was working in AAA, I wanted to go make games, so I went and started making an indie game called Heartbound, and we did a Kickstarter, it got 385% funded. Thing exploded, right? And I had seen so many other Kickstarters where they like ran away with the money and people were really upset about it, and I wanted to be really transparent with that process, so I started streaming the development.
But this game has its own controversy, as people are beginning to question if the game will ever get fully released, due to the fact it's been in development since 2015 and was said to be fully released in 2019, with the promise of monthly updates and parts being released on certain dates, which both haven't been kept true.
Monthly update process probably is going to fix that sort of like narrative on that, because it's not correct. So we're just going to release a new update every month. So you're not going back to game dev? Tell me you didn't listen to the last entire hour without telling me you didn't listen to the last entire hour.
With unsubstantial updates or updates being continuously pushed back. But due to this game, Pirate Software has been streaming since and showing the progress of the game and playing other games, where he slowly developed an audience due to how entertaining he was. Either down to his success on YouTube, his game, or Twitch, he became one of the most influential people of 2022 and even won an award in 2024 for Best Software and Game Developer Streamer. He also made the great feat of gaining 2 million subscribers in only 6 months. Pirate Software at this time was a respected and beloved streamer, which is why it's so surprising that said reputation has done an about turn in such a small amount of time due to the many controversies he's landed himself in, and made worse by adding kerosene to the fire, which is his way of responding to them, to the point where some no longer fully trust what he says and see him as somewhat egotistical and narcissistic. But what happened?
Mana untouched, his team left to die, but Pirate's out sprinting, blinking on the slide.
So the first controversy that Pirate got himself into, where people started to seriously judge his character, is with the game World of Warcraft. A game where the majority of active players are only playing the classic version to relive those nostalgic memories before the game was horribly ruined. But this controversy centers around hardcore classic WoW and a content creator group within the game called OnlyFangs. Hardcore WoW is where if you die, you lose everything and have to start all over again, and need to once again grind to max level 60 which takes anywhere from 100 to 400 hours, so you can experience the actual fun part of the game, which is the raids. But if Tyler 1 can do it, anyone can do it. Speaking of Tyler 1, he was also in the guild with streamers like Sodapoppin, Mizkiv, Esfand, and Pirate Software. Sodapoppin was the leader of OnlyFans, but after getting pummeled by Tyler 1, he had to twinkify himself once again, and Tyler was made temporary leader of the group when this whole controversy occurred. Pirate, before this major controversy, was already causing some friction within the Content Creator Guild, where he was behaving somewhat patronising and condescending towards other streamers like Lakari, who at the time was new to World of Warcraft, and he was constantly throwing his shit at Lakari in raids for not being as good as him.
Yeah, it's too bad I'm the only mage in the party. You're right, Chad. If only someone else would cast Arcane. If only.
Brother, may I have some oats? Oh, since we have 2 mages, we could probably poly the ads.
Wait, we have 2 mages? Oh. Man.
Yeah, I can poly.
Here I've been the only one casting Arcane. Incredible.
Oh, that's crazy.
At the time, Pirate insisted that this was just light ribbing despite the clips that were being posted, but after the whole fallout of this controversy, Lakari himself would talk about how he did not see it that way.
Because he has like this high and mighty attitude like he's better than you when he's not. Remember he's like talking down to me in that dungeon in SM? You remember that? Why do you play mage when you don't like support the team and make water and buff people? Bitch, I'm new, I didn't realize the buff ran out, pussy.
And before the main situation, he had a similar event before where he ditched his team in a dungeon, running 2 football pitches away, even leaving the party, so it would kick him out the dungeon so he could ensure he was safe. Now the main event was something similar to this, but I'm going to give you the bare basics of the events. Because as a child, thank God my Acer laptop could not download the free trial of Warcraft, because if that download went through, I think that was a canon event that would have changed my life. But Short Fat Otaku did a good video breaking it down. Essentially, they pulled the boss and other mobs when they were not supposed to, and the raid was somewhat ruined, and if they all stayed there, they would have all died and had to start their characters all over again. So naturally, they all started to run towards the exit. Pirate had the call to run and was already running towards the exit, but at some point the majority of the team turned back to try and fight, because if they kept running with the current aggro they had, they weren't going to make it anyway. But Pirate at this time is still running, and when one of his teammates calls him out on this, he uses the excuse his mana levels are so low that he wouldn't have been able to do anything, which promptly became a meme when regarding this situation.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
What are you talking about? Why am I walking? Look at my mana.
This is savageable, come on, man.
Because Pirate was actively using some of his abilities to get further distance that depleted his mana, and even at one point used the wrong spell which used more mana, and shielded himself at some point for some reason. But Pirate also had some items that helped restore his mana, so he could have helped to fight, but he was no longer even in the vicinity to help, and he left the dungeon ahead of all of his teammates. What ends up happening is 2 people end up dying and losing their characters, and they'll be spending 300 to 400 hours in the coal mines, and Pirate almost immediately starts to tell his stream chat why this wasn't his fault, claiming he had run and he ran like Forrest Gump overdosing on adrenaline, and left his teammates behind even though they were crying for help, which was where he got the nickname Roach.
They called run,
after,
I ran, and I was out of mana. I don't know what the hell they were expecting, dude. That does not make any sense. They overpulled 2 polls and the boss.
His teammates started to criticize him and ask him why he did what he did, but Pirate just left the conversation.
Yes, literally, just even an ice nova would have been enough.
You guys pulled that when I had...
You instantly ran out, bro. You instantly ran. You didn't even look
As much
back.
as you're angry right now, of course I ran.
I'm not angry at all.
You overpulled 2 packs. You overpulled 2 packs and a boss. You were the shot caller. You called for run. I ran.
I'm not a shot caller.
And I was out of mana.
Actually, I'm a noob, bro. Well,
we just gonna talk over me? Is that all? Is that all we're doing?
I'm just giving you my points.
Okay. You done giving your point? You good?
Yes. I'm done.
Okay. Cool. You go roll a mage then. See you around.
Now, some people were legitimately mad that he left his team to die, but some of the people that were criticizing him did the same thing some time later, which was with Tyler 1, leaving him to save themselves whilst he was left to solo the boss and died. But because of this, people focused on Pirate's behaviour in the past, like with the other roaching situation, how he treated Lakari, and how he reacted to this situation, of which he was entirely adamant he did nothing wrong.
To be honest with you, that group had already almost full wiped us the entire dungeon before. That was our second dire mall with the same group. The first one, we all of us had to leave drop groups that we could teleport out. The second one was this. No reason for me to do. Evocate was on cooldown, 2.5 minutes left. So no, I didn't trust the group to survive. And no, I wasn't going to go back on the call of them saying, run, 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 it's time to run. So no.
It's a lot of confidence in being wrong. And he didn't, it's not like he went out of his way and killed these people. He didn't pull out a gun and shoot them. But he definitely had the ability to stop it and did not.
Even when they were all brought together to resolve the situation, he got his turn to speak, but when the others had their turn to speak, he just straight up leaves again.
You've seen my enchanting, right?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, you can't ask me about... I don't know about mages, I'm gonna be honest, bro.
I have 300 enchanting, 300 tailoring. I'm one of the primary enchanters in the guild. I have hundreds of large brilliant shards in my bank. We'd lose all of this as a guild.
Yeah, okay, I get... See, there, it's right there. So you just didn't want to die. I get it.
No,
I understand.
Not at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
I told people to play for themselves. That's fine. I think that's what people are pissed off about. What do you want, man?
Let me say it again.
He already said his piece.
Pirate.
Go on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I want to
God.
speak to him because I didn't speak to him correctly. I said it again. We all did mistakes, bro. Like I didn't say, we are just blaming you. It's about the zero accountability is what makes us so mad, Pirates.
There's no
You see
zero
the point?
accountability, dude. Everyone can do something
No,
better. But when you open up and you yell over another person
can
like
I
you were doing
speak?
earlier, nah, I'm good.
You joined the call? See, like he's so egoistical. It's
He's
insane
gone, bro.
what this guy's ego is.
Okay, it is what
Why
it is.
are you protecting him? Do you see
Am
how
I
he acts?
protecting
It's
him? He
crazy.
ran
You
and...
are?
It's important to note that in Short Fat Otaku's words, this was a group responsibility. It wasn't just Pirate's fault. Some overpulled but admitted they were wrong. Pirate didn't and blamed other people when all of this could have been easily solved by saying something like, my bad. And many of his later controversies would have been solved by this as well. But he was adamant he did nothing wrong, which just perpetuated the situation and made things even worse. People began making fun of him and his behaviour.
And we hardened up at that moment. We kicked some ass and we got to live.
He knows he's got mana as well. He mouses over the mana gem. You lying bastard.
A music video was created about it.
He's the Blink King, yeah, the roach on the run.
A 2010 edit was made.
Pirate, why are you walking though?
Every streamer was talking about it, and every time he discussed the situation, people would clip it and publish it to Livestream Fails, a popular Reddit page that used to be about actual livestream fails, but now it's mostly about streaming drama, and even they are slowly losing their jobs to a fucking Twitter account. Now, Pirate made this even worse by how he would further respond, as when you are in situations like this, you have a range of avenues you could go down. You could completely ignore the situation, which does work in some cases, and it just slowly blows over. You could be completely transparent and admit if you were in the wrong in the situation, which usually does work if you're completely honest. Or you could add fuel to the fire and be adamant you are correct whilst also feeding into the trolls, which is one of the worst things you can do, but which one do you think he did? Obviously, it was the worst option. He made a Twitter post regarding the situation, deflecting, somewhat blaming others, and calling out other content creators, especially streamers that covered the situation, and later supported this by talking about it on stream, saying he was being cannibalized for content.
And for all the content creators that were out there trying to cannibalize me to boost their numbers for a little while, that may work for now. But in the future, no one's going to want to do anything with you other than other people that also want to cannibalize you. You're going to surround yourself with that. That's going to be on you, bud. That's shit for you, to be honest with you. And I feel bad for you.
Once again, this involved people that were just giving him criticism.
We've been doing bans across the Twitch channel. We've been doing batch reports up to Twitch. We've been taking all of this. We've been documenting all of the content creators that are egging it on. Like, all of that shit is documented and reported. And that's it. Hope it was worth it.
But he also mentioned he was getting death threats and harassment, which was true, essentially over a video game. He began banning people and phrases in his chat that referred to the event. He blocked people that talked about it on Twitter, mentioned his past at Blizzard and that they would get some people banned because of that past.
All of the accounts that are messaging me are getting reported. There's a funny fact about this. I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. There's a whole lot of other people there that still know me. And all of these reports are going directly to them. They're well aware of the situation, and everybody who's messaging me, they're going to get read. It's kind of a dumbass thing to do, and I can't wait for all of them to get banned.
He also started cutting and deleting some of his Twitch clips so that some of the clips taken and uploaded to places like Livestream Fails wouldn't work, or would be shortened to things like 4 seconds and made somewhat incoherent.
The game, this new monthly update process probably is going to fix that sort of
but most things uploaded to the livestream fails Reddit page is then uploaded to their website, where you can find a mirror of the clip completely unedited. So Pirate was very well aware what was being uploaded to livestream fails, trying to counter any clip posted about him on there. And what else really didn't help him at this time was that in another game, a few months before this drama, his party pulled another mob by accident and it killed all of them, and they lost like 4 hours of progress, and he got angry and started saying he was going to kick the person that pulled that mob, but it was in fact him, and a lot of the clips started to resurface.
Sabu. God damn it, guys.
No, who pulled the ocular?
So one of you pulled the ocular. Why? Now half the raid is dead. Was there a reason for that? The lightning ball pulled... I cast lightning ball before that Oculus appeared, and half the raid was in the back because they pulled the wrong pack. I'm not at fault there. I'm correct there for doing that. 100%. This guy sounds like he takes criticism well. You sound like you want to talk to me about it in the unban request. You're just stirring. I'm just going to get rid of you.
At this point, he was directly feeding into the trolls and people harassing him by still talking about it constantly, even preventing people from clipping it, or even talking about it in his chat, and painting the situation as if he did nothing wrong and he was in fact the victim. Once again, if he just admitted his faults or completely ignored this situation, the drama would have only lasted like a few days. But he then got kicked from the guild by Sodapoppin, the original leader, and of course he started speaking about that, even speaking badly about the guild, which for the 5th time just brought more attention to this and perpetuated the drama around him and led to him getting more hate.
Went into that fight with 40% mana, tried to use my resources, used them poorly, and got myself out when the call was made to run, which, by the way, was made by them as well. Everyone played badly. In fact, the only person who didn't was the healer. And I explained that in the Twitter post, but no one wants to hear that shit because they want it to be a double down, a triple down, a quadruple down. They want to have a villain. They want to have an enemy. They want to fight that shit into the ground. They want to send death threats to people over it because they're goddamn insane. Because this guild has turned into a content guild built on hate, not a content guild built on experiences. Because they're freaking monsters, dude.
But it got even worse, because in coordination with the Roach meme, a game developer made a post on Reddit acting like they weren't the game developer, saying they were going to put Pirate Software in their game as a Roach, even using his voice, and people warned them about this in the Reddit comments, as it could potentially lead to copyright issues, but as of right now it wasn't even in the game. This was just a build on their own computer and wasn't live to Steam. But upon hearing this, Pirate Software DMCA'd the entire game, removing it from Steam, even though this would have been a false DMCA because it's not in the public game once again, and the developer counterclaimed and tried to fight Pirate on this, even going to his Discord server to clarify he is not in the game. And Pirate talked about this on stream but completely ignored the fact he wasn't in the game, and as always came off as somewhat egotistical and arrogant, and tells his UK lawyer Mod to counter the claim, and that the guy is going to lose and they are going to sue him.
Hey, Kronos, we have to file a legal complaint against that dude earlier. I'm gonna pause this for a moment. There was a dude earlier today that went onto Reddit and said that he was using my voice in a video game, showed a bunch of videos of it, and then put that game up on Steam. So I filed a DMCA claim, and he has now filed a counterclaim against me. We're going to take you to court. You're going to lose. You cannot use somebody's likeness or voice in any way inside of your games without their permission. So I'm going to send this over to Kronos now because he is a lawyer in copyright law. That is his job.
Now, because it was a false claim, everyone supported the game dev. A lawyer even found out about this and said he would support the game dev free of charge in this situation, but the game did eventually get put back on Steam, and the communication between Pirate's lawyer and the game dev's lawyer was somewhat comical to say the least. But this, on top of the whole World of Warcraft drama, was not a good look for Pirate, and now people were a lot more skeptical of him and were looking for the next time he popped his ult that was not taking accountability. But they wouldn't have to wait long.
Wait a minute. I think I just solved it, chat.
So a controversy that quickly followed after the WoW drama, and due to said previous drama, people started looking back at his previous streams, specifically his gameplay. Most importantly, games like Animal Well and Outer Wilds.
And I remember thinking in the video, I was like, damn, he's fucking good at puzzles, man. I was like, if I was doing this, I'd be fucking stuck. That's what I remember thinking, okay? And then during this drama, I'm like reading some of the comments on this WoW drama, and somebody offhandedly mentioned that he faked it, that he like looked up a guide, that he like fucking was clearly like he says things that happen before he gets there, and he like I don't know if that's true, but I rewatched some part of the video, and with that knowledge, it looked so much different to me.
Now, people were curious how Pirate was able to solve so many of these puzzles seemingly out of nowhere, specifically in his gameplay of Outer Wilds, where at the start of the game it teaches you about the camera, an item where if you take pictures certain structures will stop moving, but Pirate later on in the gameplay doesn't know that he has to use this item, and struggles for quite a long time to the point where the game actually resets, which it does like every 21 minutes, and during this time you can see him staring into the void, which some people claim was him staring at his phone to get the answer, but Pirate before this says he's turned off his chat, this is a blind playthrough and he's not getting any answers.
Oh, by the way, I am not reading most of chat, and I cannot hear TTS today, so if you're trying to talk to me using TTS, it will not work.
But on his next run before he gets back to the puzzle room, he solves the puzzle.
Unless we make... Wait a minute. I think I just solved it. I want to test it. I want to test the thing. I want to test the thing. Bwong. If I look away from it now, it's still there. The camera works.
But many have criticised other moments where he seemingly does the same thing.
There's no way that he would be this blatant about it, though, right? Like, he's clearly looking at his phone right now. There's no way he would go from that and just instantly solve it. Like, you would at least fake trying to figure it out for another minute or two, right? Like...
Oh, is it still too early?
But once again, for this example, the game teaches you early on about this item, and there is even a hint in the room that tells you to basically use the camera. So it's very possible he could have solved this from his own intelligence, but many just thought he was cheating to make himself look smart. But his excuse was he was looking at his phone because he was playing Monster Hunter or texting someone.
Why did you cheat in Outer Wilds? What? How the hell would you cheat in that game? Bro, we played it all live on stream. Alright, bud. You were typing and they assumed you were Googling? No? I was probably playing Monster Hunter. Like, I've been playing that shit on phone for ages. I always keep it right here. Unless I was typing to somebody or texting to somebody, I don't freaking know.
And from this instance, you can't 100% verify he was cheating, but as we've seen before with Pirate and his previous behaviour, especially when facing criticism, he does not help himself. For some reason on the video of his entire gameplay, he started to delete comments showing timestamps where his gameplay looked a bit suspicious, which if you're trying to paint the picture you're innocent and didn't cheat, it's very much counterintuitive. But the same accusations were lobbied against him in a different game, Animal Well, where he solved some of these secret puzzles which took the community weeks to find, but he did it quite promptly, and some people called him out for this.
Not for sure it would be in here, would it? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. It's the lengths.
Like, he doesn't even have all of the wingdings yet. He doesn't have the number of wingdings. There's more space, and it doesn't match what he has yet. So it's like this could be like a theory to have for now, but in that case, this wouldn't be locked in until he has enough wingdings to fill it. And even then, it's a stretch.
But Pirate defended himself on stream and with a pinned comment, saying the footage is cut in places where he actively works with the community to solve these puzzles.
We played it for 83 hours, and we actually did it like a week after launch. So there's a bunch of people that are trying to say that, you know, it took weeks for the community to solve this, but in reality, like, we did that, like, a few days after launch. So, like, no. And also, there was nothing on there that said we did that blind. We were playing around with the community. Everybody was trying to chip in to give it answers, and it took us, like, 5-6 hours for most of those puzzles.
But there are instances in his gameplay where he talks about not needing to look up answers, and that he prefers solving most puzzles himself.
I don't understand the idea of looking up the answers to puzzle games. And you need to not do that. Like, you are robbing yourself of the entire point of the game. At that point, you might as well play an idle game.
Now, to be honest, out of all the other controversies, this is the biggest nothing burger, where the worst case is he cheated in a video game to make himself look smart, and in the best case, he spontaneously gets answers correct. But this was one of the key controversies that was levied against him, but compared to the next one, this was a single stick of dynamite compared to the fat man that was about to happen next.
Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
So Stop Killing Games is an initiative that wants to protect consumers like you, especially when you buy games. Because as you may know, most games nowadays you have to connect to a server, and if the game is completely dead, there may not be any servers available because the company behind it have stopped supporting it, or you need an internet connection by default to play even a single player game. This notably happened with The Crew, meaning people could no longer play it even after paying for it because they had closed the servers for it. This is a common occurrence in today's gaming industry, as even if you buy a game, you don't fully own it. They're just letting you play the game and they can take it away at any moment. And the Stop Killing Games initiative wants to stop this, and they want more rights for consumers, where if someone buys a game, they own the game and will not lose access to it in the future, and there should be some playable version of that game, not just being gatekept and told to fuck off when they can't find a server when you launch a single player game. It's a good initiative, as long as it involves putting old games like my favourite Viva Pinata on Steam, so I don't need to download VirtualBox or run it in an emulator from a sketchy website just to play it because I can't find it anywhere on the fucking Xbox store. But Ross Scott was the person behind this initiative and started it in 2024 over the removal of the game The Crew, and it initially got some attention when it was first brought up, but this petition needed over 1 million people to sign it so it could be passed on and looked at further, and this was only for those in Europe. Now, how does Pirate Software come into this? Well, he found out about the Stop Killing Games movement and sort of publicly shit on it.
Oh shit, now this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. Now, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage.
Keep in mind, this was months before the WoW drama, and is probably another case of people being more attentive to his past and the things he said previously due to that WoW drama. Pirate had even made 2 videos on his own channel about the movement and allegedly 2 others he removed. But the main problem was he was criticizing this movement and even advertising people not to go for it, but he completely misunderstood what the initiative was about in the first place. And as Scott or Accused Farms said, because of his influence in getting it wrong, it affected the movement.
This video came out right as we were building momentum. Then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork.
One of the first things Thor got wrong was saying the movement as described on the website wasn't specific and thought it was only targeting single player games.
Understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single player games that do not need a server to support them. And as much as they want it to be about specifically games where it is a single player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up.
And he also thought this meant converting multiplayer games to single-player.
But he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single-player. Once again, he made that up, and I have no idea why he thought that.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single-player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single player offline
No, dude.
Correct. No.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact. If you're making it all single-player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Yeah, so why does he keep bringing it up? This is a total red herring.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing wrong now.
So Pirate Software really didn't get the initiative right, and got some criticism back for this initially, and responded with his usual behaviour of doubling down and even refusing to talk to Ross directly when he reached out in his comments to speak to him to clear a lot of these misunderstandings up, and all around just spread the word that Scott was being dishonest.
And he does not wish to discuss this with me, or anyone else in the initiative. Why not?
Would you consider reaching out and talking to Ross about it? No. And the reason why is because I found his entire statement over the YouTube incredibly disingenuous. Like, it's gross, dude. It's greasy. And because of that, I don't want to talk to him. I'd be willing to talk to, like, Louis Rossman or anybody else about this because they'll actually have a conversation. But that shows me, like, the greasy used car salesman thing, where they're not actually trying to sell you a good product. They're just trying to sell you a product. And I hate people like that. I hate it, dude.
Now it got even worse for Pirate, because Moist Critical would get involved in his own videos to say, yeah, he got it wrong.
Is because a lot of people don't even really know what this is because of people like Pirate Software completely misrepresenting what the initiative was.
And the other Goliaths like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, and even Notch got involved showing their support for this movement, and it somewhat exploded, even managing to finally reach the goal that was set when they thought it was going to die. And after the Moist Critical video, Pirate then made a deleted tweet towards Ross, saying he was not to blame for the failure of his initiative, of which it didn't fail now, and that he was getting a bunch of hate for this. But nowhere in there does he admit he got things wrong about the movement, and even in the next few tweets he basically says the same thing. Moist Critical even talked to him directly over DMs, and it got nowhere, but it followed with a tweet where he actually does apologise to Ross for some of the things he said, probably the used car salesman line, or that he was disingenuous. But that's probably the only thing he's ever apologised about from all of these controversies. But as of right now, one of his most recent talks about the movement is that he is not going to apologise for getting the movement wrong or bend the knee, and that once again he has been harassed and even swatted, and leaves off with he hopes you get everything you ask for but nothing you want from the initiative.
Put up a video saying you were wrong with every situation and the internet move on. I am not doing that. I don't give Yeah, simply bend the knee and lie about how you feel, and everyone will stop bullying you. That's a great idea, dude. Yeah, no. Each say that our rescue is an animal horde. I've been called a pedophile, zoophile, rapist, corporate plant, degenerate, narcissist, nepo baby, and many other names. And they attacked all the accomplishments over my life, despite physical evidence to prove to the contrary. And they also went after every job I ever held, trying to say that I never worked them, or if I did work them, that I never deserved them. So I'm going to be honest with you. I hope that your initiative gets everything you asked for, but nothing you wanted. And I'll leave it there.
And then made a tweet clarifying initially that he was not responsible for killing the movement, showing a graph, and then that got community noted, showing that he wasn't in the right. He also left his position at a game studio due to apparently people review bombing his games and the ones he worked on for the studio. But looking at the games on Steam that he did do for that studio, it sits at mostly positive, but yes, some people did make some comments regarding the drama in the reviews, of which he did clarify in a later tweet that it was other platforms as well they were all being harassed on. But his own game has admittedly got a lot of negative reviews, but some are just pointing out what has been pointed out before, like the promises that were broken from the update strategy and the release date being pushed back constantly. However, despite not being able to say he was in the wrong, except for retracting the comments he made towards Scott, Pirate was unknowingly the mercy res this initiative needed. And I'll admit, it is a bit fucked up in a way, but it took him making himself into a villain to get this movement passed.
There's nothing wrong with the game whatsoever. It functions completely normally, is highly performant. It is irrelevant to increase performance on a game that runs on a smart fridge.
So probably the last controversy, yes, we're almost there, shut the fuck up, this one is quite short, but this is involving his game, more specifically his way of coding it, as a majority of his short form content was game design and coding knowledge, and he talks quite frequently about his professional past, so you would assume his practical code would be able to match that. Just going to clarify, the only coding I've ever done is with Python on the PyCharm IDE, and I would rather swallow pickled cow testicles than go through the hell that is a singular line of code cooking me from running my program. Although, when it finally does work as intended, it is a state of euphoria comparable to having your G-spot professionally massaged. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm a complete dumbass when it comes to coding. But after the previous fiasco, not only were people focusing more closely to what Pirate said, they were now looking at his code as well. A YouTuber by the name of Coding Jesus, but he made multiple videos looking at Pirate Software's code for his game Heartbound, and he had a lot to say about it. Specifically that Pirate's way of coding was not what you would expect from someone that has been coding for this long.
I recommend people actually download these VODs before he takes them down, because honestly, if I was claiming I'm a game developer with 20 years of experience, this would be embarrassing to have online. Alarm 0, Alarm 1, Alarm 2. What is that? What are those alarms? Is it an alarm for person A, an alarm for whatever character, an alarm to do what? It's unexpressive, it's really spaghetti code in my opinion. This is also a complete mess for a couple of reasons. First of all, Thor is using the incorrect data types. This isn't even getting to some sort of advanced design or design pattern. It's showing a complete lack of understanding how to represent information in a program. As you can see here, I found the file that contains all these events, which are the association between a magic number and some state. It's very obvious that this can get very unwieldy extremely quickly. As you can see here, he has some number associated with 0, 1, or even 2, and then he needs to detail in a comment what that means. Now, imagine a developer accidentally puts 2 here, or 3. Finding, tracking, and solving that bug is really going to be a development nightmare. 1 equals 0, alarm 2 equals 0. You don't need to copy and paste that code every single time. I'd expect an intern or somebody learning code in Khan Academy to copy and paste. You can simply replace that all with a for loop.
And he also goes on to say that his way of coding has accrued technical debt, which may be a primary reason why his game has taken so long to be made.
Now, the fact that Heartbound has taken over 8 years to development and is still in early access, despite the fact that the game took inspiration from Undertale, which took less time to make and provided more content, is a reflection of the fact that code quality is important and it will stifle your development.
Now Pirate would respond to him, and he actually surprised me. He would promptly thank Code Jesus for his input and put that feedback into the game, and even cleaned up a lot of his code to industry standard, and them two became best friends. That was a lie. He didn't take the criticism well, basically said he didn't know what he was talking about, specifically with Game Maker Studio, the ID of sorts he was using, and in a later response painted the picture that Coding Jesus was just doing this to sell his course.
Jesus can help you? You mean the guy who's never used Game Maker Studio, doesn't know Game Maker language, and talked a lot of shit but was wrong? Pretty funny. Coding Jesus calling you out? I think he's striving to be relevant so he can sell you more $360 an hour training sessions.
Real king.
Now Coding Jesus shot back saying he didn't know much about Game Maker, but as most programmers should when they start working with new things like repositories, which to be honest, most people barely do, is you look at the documentation of it. But Coding Jesus not knowing much about Game Maker was able to prove him wrong by doing this.
What's kind of embarrassing for him is I have around 5 minutes of experience worth of Game Maker, and I was still able to correct him on the data types within the game in my recent response video by simply referencing the documentation. So that's an iconic statement from him right off the bat.
And he even made another video showing how poor the performance of his game was.
Draw sort of a gradient of light over it. So we're going to see what happens when I run the project. We have kind of a gradient rectangle basically, but I don't know if you noticed something. We are getting less than 20 FPS. That code is running the collision check and the drawing the pixels 80,000 times.
And Pirate obviously responded by saying there's nothing wrong with his game, it can run on a smart fridge.
It is irrelevant to increase performance on a game that runs on a smart fridge.
Of which Coding Jesus then proved that was wrong, as the game wasn't solely running on the fridge, it was piggybacking off a Raspberry Pi and a laptop. and basically none of the resources of the fridge was being used.
What do we notice here? We notice that the game is actually being run on a laptop and streamed to the fridge using a Raspberry Pi device.
But yeah, there's a lot more to this, but it's mainly just Coding Jesus saying his coding is bad and Pirate responding by not taking the criticism at all.
Hot dogs are gross, dude. Hot dogs are like the grossest food imaginable. They're disgusting. You want to know why I don't like hot dogs?
So in conclusion, Pirate Software is very much the punching bag of the internet right now. But in my opinion, although it is somewhat impressive that even when proven wrong sometimes, he still remains adamant he is right, he really did do it to himself. He has shown time and time again he cannot take criticism in any form, and instead responds by ignoring everything given to him, and he will bury his head in the sand, leave calls, say he's in the right, claim he's the victim, deflect, double down, and never admit he was in the wrong, except for one occasion. And he's lost a lot of fans because of this. It's primarily down to his own ego, arrogance, and how he responds to those critiquing him, often fueling them. People will continue to give this attention, look back even further with his online presence, and troll him if he doesn't learn how to take criticism or admit when he was wrong. I think even a few days ago someone found a clip from ages ago where he forgot his dad's birthday, and that's been doing rounds on the internet. And obviously the swatting, death threats and harassment that he has received is unwarranted, but I don't think we should forget some of the positive things Pirate has done as well. He has an animal sanctuary for ferrets which you can watch on Twitch. He pushed people to make games and hosted game jams where he could give you pointers and publicity for your game. He's educated people through his shorts. Still not going to use that hotkey though, and this is supposed because it comes from his own mouth, but he provides a lot of benefits to some of his mods and staff, including dental, and he hinted at 401ks for them. And yes, he unknowingly fueled a movement that would help the consumers of games if fully realised. I'm curious to see that with the whole internet against Pirate, if he will eventually accept some form of criticism and admit when he is wrong, but I think for the near future I predict he's going to have a terrible take or get something else wrong and act like everyone else is the problem. But I hold some hope he will eventually learn to accept feedback. But probably the most important part of this video is that if he just said 2 words, "my bad," in that WoW raid, none of this would have happened and we wouldn't be seeing his career unraveling right now. But yeah, that's all I had to say, and bye bye.